Institute, Philippines. Dr. D.K. Yadav, Head Seed Science and Technology, NARI, Mr. Ashutosh Sinha from LT Foods, and Mr. from co-owner Russell Agriculture Consultancy from Australia. I would request Mr. Akash Deep, IAS, Commissioner and Secretary, Department Agriculture, for his opening remarks. Mr. Akash Deep.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and apologies for the delay. We had something, a bit of a technical issue, and we had something that had come in between. But thank you everyone for joining in, all our esteemed and respected speakers from different parts of the world, from India. Thank you for joining in, and welcome to the National Agri Horti Show, which is happening. It is quite unique. It is a quite unique show in the sense that we have both the virtual and the physical component. The audiences are present here physically, while the most of the speakers have joined us virtually. To begin with, I would like to invite the Honorable Consul General of Bhutan, who is here with us, to say a few words. Bhutan has done a lot of exemplary work in terms of sustainable agriculture and promoting food security and gross national happiness for the people. So, the Consul General, sir, please.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to address or talk on the agriculture. But at the same time, no, I'm not an agriculture expert, nor I'm in agriculture engineering. So unlike the following speakers virtually, I'm not an expert on this subject, subject of agriculture, nutrition, nutritional and food security. In fact, I'll be talking generally about the agriculture development, and in Bhutan, I'll be sharing the agriculture development in Bhutan. So agriculture plays an important role in economic development of any country, and especially for developing countries such as India and Bhutan, where 1 out of 3 persons earn less than 1.25 US dollar per day. And at the same time, the sector contributes significantly to the GDP and serve as a major source of employment. Agriculture sector employs about 50% of total employment in India and about 57.20% in Bhutan, thus demonstrating absorbing growing labor force. Following the food crisis and food price hike in 2007 and 2008, and the COVID pandemic that we are experiencing today, food and nutrition security has become an important international agenda, global agenda. Therefore, the National Agri-Horticulture Show 2021 is timely and appropriate. I would like to thank and congratulate the Department of Agriculture for organizing this show. Bhutan is one of the world's smallest and the least developed countries, with an economy based primarily on agriculture, livestock, forestry, also known as renewable natural resources, RNR sector. Although GDP from RNR sector has increased in absolute terms over the years, the contribution to the national GDP has declined significantly from 23% in 2005 to 16% in 2013. This is mainly due to upscaling of the secondary and the tertiary sectors. Nevertheless, the RNS sector continues to be the third largest contributor to the national GDP after industries and service sectors. While food self-sufficiency and food security are the underlying strategies of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forest, imports of agricultural produce such as rice, fruits, vegetables, dairy products are increasing over the year. This is associated with decrease in agriculture activities due to a number of challenges persisting in agriculture production, such as crop failure, human-wildlife conflicts, and climate change. Thus, sustainable agriculture in Bhutan is a necessity for future development. In 2017, the Royal Government of Bhutan developed enhancing sustainability and climate resilience of forest and agriculture, landscape, and community livelihoods project to strengthen biological corridors, build resilience for adaptation to climate change, and support sustainable agriculture in the country by 2030. Agriculture in Bhutan is currently faced with wide ranges of challenges like aging farmers, feminization, farm labor shortage, shrinking land, degradation of natural resources, soaring prices of primary inputs, and climate change. In addition to the climate-related hazards, challenges to the productivity and sustainable agriculture in Bhutan include fragmented landholding, changing land use patterns, wildlife-human conflicts. Climate change and its potential impacts are one of the greatest challenges the country is facing today and will continue in the future. The impacts and the changes are mainly driven by increased global emission of greenhouse gases. Though Bhutan is a carbon negative country, we are bearing the brunt of emission caused by the larger economies of the world. Of late, Bhutan has been witnessing frequent extreme weather events causing widespread damages to the crops and the livelihood of the people. In the face of these challenges, we need knowledge-intensive green revolution that combines advances in science and agriculture engineering with unique traditional knowledge to make agriculture more environmentally resilient. To feed over increasing population, it is therefore essential for the production to keep up with the increasing demand in a sustainable way. However, additional increases in the agricultural production are difficult to achieve due to resource constraints, especially on land and water. While gains from increased area cultivated are hardly achievable, overutilization of input such as chemical, fertilizers, and pesticides is already undermining the soil quality and fertility. Thus, improved agriculture technology holds the key to increasing food production. Technology-driven agriculture growth can contribute significantly to the growth in income and poverty alleviation. Therefore, let me once again reiterate that the success of this event will not only benefit Assam, Northeast, but also Bhutan. Given the circumstances, India and Bhutan are both experiencing a gradual agriculture diversification in favor of high-value commodities, namely fruits, vegetables, livestock, and fisheries. Agriculture diversification is favored by appropriate and timely national policies, infrastructure development, land use plan, and technological advancement. Besides increasing crop production, agriculture diversification has contributed to the employment opportunities and trade. Both India and Bhutan are seeing a major economic growth, but also we suffer from poverty, undernourishment, and deterioration of its natural resources. Undernourishment is widespread, especially among women and children. Nearly 21% of the population is undernourished. The larger challenge of an increasing population and rising economic growth is putting tremendous pressure on both agriculture sector and natural resources that are required to meet the present and the future demand for food and nutrition security. In this situation, the solution to the problem lies in the green economy. That is a thriving economy that reinforces inclusive, sustainable development and poverty eradication while protecting natural resources, which in Bhutan we call as gross national happiness, a development philosophy propounded by the fourth king of Bhutan that will ensure economic development while people continue to live in harmony with their pristine nature and the age-old culture and tradition. Furthermore, to attain higher level of agriculture growth, it is inevitable to improve total factor productivity of agriculture sector. Considering the low productivity of land, labor, and capital, we can increase agriculture TFP through technological-based innovations, enabling access to improved technologies and effective management of natural resources, enhanced investment in agricultural research and development, and integration of production and marketing through policies and institutions. This horticulture show implies a point of convergence to introspect and redefine agriculture agenda for government of Assam and its people. Additionally, this event would also play an important role in allowing all of us to explore potential of this that exists within Assam, other northeastern states, and the neighboring countries. It's for the people of the event also provides to create a platform for bringing together all major players and stakeholders in agri-horticulture ecosystem to bring about a major shift and transformation in the livelihood of its people in the region through agri-horticulture transformation. So in closing, let me once again thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to talk on the general agriculture development in Bhutan. Thank you, Tashidele.
Thank you, His Excellency, for sharing the thoughts on Bhutan agriculture. Now, to begin with, let me request Dr. Dipayan Day, Chair, Research and Planning, M&E, Fundraising, South Asian Forum for Environment, for his address, please. Mr. Dipayan Day.
Thank you, Mr. Tibak. I think I'm audible to all of the esteemed guests. And
Yes, sir, you are audible, loud and clear.
thank you very much.
Would you want me to share your presentation, or you would share?
Yeah, I think I can share it from here. If there is any problem, I will definitely request
Sure.
you.
Thank you.
So to begin with, a very good afternoon and a heartfelt thanks to the organizers, especially the government of Assam and Piki, for this wonderful opportunity. And definitely, I would like to say Kuzuzampula to the Consul General of Bhutan. I had a long association with Bhutan, and definitely my organization is also, carrying out a number of works. So it is a very pertinent occasion and a very important, a very relevant topic. And I would just like to set the platform as the session chair with a small presentation herewith. So please let me know if it is visible.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So agriculture and food nutritional security. And we have in the agenda the role of agriculture in nutritional security of the nation, role of corporate sector in production, extension, and procurement of agricultural products, and role of women in agricultural national nutritional security. Sorry. So I would just like to focus on the report that we have got from the National Food and Nutrition Security Analysis by the World Food Programme and Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Government of India. What we find is in 2008, India was categorically placed in position number 126 in the food security list of FAO. And this World Food Programme, after almost a decade, still says that there is a slow decline of child stunting due to malnutrition. Every third child is facing this stunting still today. Access of nutritious food has increased only by 0.07%, which is a very serious, I think, a very serious and important segment or focal point when we are standing in this post-pandemic situation. And then there is a shortage of 344 kilocalories per day per head. 30% of the population in India, probably 30%, little bit more of this 30% in the entire South Asia has got a deficiency, which almost leads to an inability of 15% of the entire population who doesn't do any work because they are not able to do it. The next important thing is undernutrition, rural micronutrient deficiency. It's a very interesting and very alarming factor that still today, vitamin deficiency, folic acid deficiency, iron deficiency, we are still fighting against these things. I was just going through a small report that was derived from not a very big section of, say, sample size, but it was interesting in the fact that when we talk about protein calorie malnutrition, we find in the coastal belts or in the wetland areas, the protein malnutrition is not that high, rather than the calorie malnutrition is much more higher, especially the cereal deficiency is there. And as we go up in the mountains, we find the same trend remains, but the micronutrition deficiency increases gradually, and it's very high in the mountains, especially in the areas where there is water deficiency or the areas which are stress prone, water stress prone. On the other hand, another very interesting thing is the urban obesity, too much of eating and too much of food wastage. So on this particular platform, when we move, what we find as a recommendation is incentivized agricultural diversification. So when we talk about incentivizing, definitely the thing that comes in our mind is putting money into it. But probably at this particular juncture, we'll have to think out of the box and find out in what other ways we can compensate the opportunity cost of people who are in this production chains or who are actually supporting this agrarian economy. Innovative and low-cost sustainable production system has been recommended. Now, innovation is, we in my organization, we define it as the freedom from the fear of failure. But when it comes to the corporate sector, probably, if I'm not wrong, the first thing that comes, if it fails, the first question that comes is if it fails. So innovation always takes a backseat. But it has been recommended that innovative and low-cost sustainable production system is very important. We need to have a policy for traditional crop farming in the country. Just a small example, I was checking with the reports that the rice that we usually eat, like the polished white slim grain rice, 1 kg of that gives just a calorie, just an energy of around 1.3 kilocalories. But if we talk about Bhutan's red rice or Arunachal Pradesh red rice or the raw wild rice of Manipur, which is known as the black rice, just 1 kg of it provides around 3.75 kilocalories. So imagine what immense, treasure we have in this ecoregion, which needs to be in the front line today when we are talking about nutritional security. Then comes fortification, diversification, and supplementation. But whenever we talk about these, the first thing that comes in mind is it possible? Is it sustainable? Are we sure we are going to do it? So just to share an example here, this is a picture of float farming, which is being done on the where salinity ingression kills the farmlands and the food production goes down. So we introduced solar micro irrigation system in this. We introduced hydroponic system, and there is a small agrotourism now going on in Sundarbans. You can see the light, a solar light illuminating this night bazaar, which is a floating bazaar. So what we did is, in the name of diversification, integration, and fortification, we added fish farming, we added crab farming, medicinal plants, we did duckery, and definitely another very interesting thing is the algae farming. So these things can happen, but still today this is waiting for being adopted as a mainstream practice by the line managers. So here is the threshold point where I think we need to focus, and probably not as just a country, India, but as rightly our Dasho said, from Bhutan also, from Bangladesh also, these things need to be eco-regionally planned. So we come to the role of corporate sector. I think it is very important, very significant. Just a couple of things I would like to put on the forum for discussion ahead further. One is the breaking the water energy nexus. Water is very precious, very costly. When I say it is costly, I also take into account its ecological cost, its environmental cost. And energy is the thing that makes it costly. It is very energy demanding. So this water energy nexus needs to be broken, where I find the corporate sector has got an immense role. Whenever we talk about renewable energy, it comes to solar. I think we need to again think outside the box. The second important thing is technology cooperation for value chains. We have been talking for value chains for quite almost a decade, especially NABARD and other leading agricultural innovators and leaders have talked about value chain. But the bottleneck is the technology. Even if we are talking about a simple cold chain, still the technology is not available to the marginal farmers. And please remember that still now, more than 60% of it is rain-fed agriculture, and more than 45% probably are very, very marginal farmers who do not have even 1 hectare of land on possession. So the next thing is the post-harvest management and food processing. Just one simple example, tomatoes. A time comes when the farmer kills the tomatoes or perishes the tomatoes, spoils the tomatoes on the ground because it doesn't give him a particular rate in the market. It doesn't even suffice the transportation cost of carrying it to the market for selling. So I think there's a huge opportunity over here. We'll be discussing definitely on this. Adopting innovations, a lot of sporadic, exemplary innovations are lying about us. And especially we find the development sector is doing it up in very many ways. And
Dr.
this is
K,
also
we need to close quickly.
just in 2 minutes, sir.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
So that is very important. And next we come over to financial inclusion for empowerment, just not bank linkage, but we need the farmers to be a participant in the Global Climate Fund. And lastly, the circular economy, though our definition is just limited to recycling, but circular economy is much more than that. So as my time goes, thank you very much. I'm not touching upon one single point, that is the role of women, because a lot of injustice has been done, and touching upon in the small space about the role of women in this will be another injustice, but definitely I would await for a very interesting and debatable discussion in this forum. Thank you very much again for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Day. You can stop sharing this slide. And now I would request Dr. John Helen, who is the platform leader, Sustainable Impact, International Rice Research Institute from Philippines, for his address, please. Dr. John Helen.
Thank you very much, sir. I just want to make sure that my video is working. And also, I believe that you or someone there will be running my presentation. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, we will.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, while the presentation is being put up on the screen, I'd just like to thank the organizers for the opportunity to talk at this very important meeting. I am based in the Philippines. I would like to have been in person with you, and it's exactly 1 year ago that I was in Assam, and I was hoping to return, but obviously our lives have been rather turned on their heads by the COVID-19 pandemic. So I join you virtually from the Philippines. I want to talk for about 15-20 minutes about sustainable agriculture and food security. I do work for the International Rice Research Institute that is working with several partners in Assam and other parts of India. So the focus will be on Assam, and whilst it's rice, it's going to be rice-based. So we can have the next slide, please.
Okay.
Can we have the next slide, please?
Dr. Helen, you have 10 minutes, please. Sorry.
Okay, I thought I had longer, but I'll do it in 10. Okay, thank you. So just a reminder of some of the issues at stake when we talk about sustainable agriculture and the challenges that we have. Often it can be put under the broad category of climate change, but we are talking about everything from small land holdings to degraded soil, to lack of stress-tolerant varieties, in this case, rice varieties. Next slide, please. We've heard already this afternoon about the importance of technologies, and I just want to focus in the next 2 or 3 slides on some of the technologies that IRI and partners have been using and developing, not only in Assam, but in other parts of India and other parts of Asia and South Asia and Southeast Asia. So we're looking at everything from innovative land management practices, conservation agriculture. There's a very, very rich experience within India on this. Cropping system intensification, which can be everything from different sowing times to crop rotations, etc. On the right-hand side, the issues around pest and weed management, water management, and nutrient management. A plethora of technologies which are available. Next slide, please. And also, as we move into the area of mechanization, which is critical from everything from land preparation to crop establishment. And above all, the technologies are there, the machines are there. But in order to make this work, we could go back, I think the slides have, thank you. To make this work, we also need to ensure that we have sufficient focus on issues like capacity building. This is absolutely key, not just in terms of extension, but in terms of the manufacturers who are going to produce these machines, those who are going to be service providers, hiring out machines to farmers. And I know that when I was in Assam exactly a year ago, visiting some of the KVKs and being very impressed with the links there were between organizations doing research for development, local universities, and community organizations. And I think this is critical to the success of sustainable agriculture. Next slide, please. And one mustn't forget the richness of what we can do. I said at the beginning that even though I work for IRRI and we're seen as working on rice, our focus is actually rice-based systems. So I mentioned a moment ago the importance of crop diversification, of rotation. And here you can see some of these cropping systems which are being carried out, which provide farmers with a greater income. If you can get 2 or 3 crops per annum, then that's absolutely wonderful. And you will see in that slide some of the rice, other crop systems which are being explored and are actually very traditional in many parts of India. Next slide, please. And then the sort of, one could argue what's often seen as the sort of core research of certainly what IRRI was when it was established 60 years ago, very, very close collaboration with South Asia, particularly in India. And even now, the importance of some of the breeding work, the work that's been done around submergent tolerant rice varieties, which is of great importance. Don't worry too much about the details, but it's G by E by M for those in the know. The importance of getting the genetic material correct, the importance of the environment being conducive to the growing of the crop, and then the management of it. And when you put those together, you can get a win-win-win situation. And that's obviously what we're looking for. Next slide, please. We've also got to recognize, and Dr. Day in his speech, his presentation just now, I think alluded to some of these rich rice varieties which exist. There is no desire on IRRI's part or anyone else's part to replace and hence lose the rich rice diversity which already exists in places like Assam. I was actually reminded of, these are what I picked up exactly a year ago when I was visiting the beautiful state of Assam. I still have some of these, I don't know the land races, but they're certainly very different rice varieties to the ones that I've come across. So to what extent can market opportunities for those land races be enhanced so that farmers have a financial incentive to carry on growing those rice varieties? As I said, there's no attempt and no wish on our or anyone else's part to lose that rich cultural and culinary heritage which exists in states like Assam. Next slide, please. Previous speaker, Dr. Day, said he couldn't do gender justice, nor can I do gender justice in a talk of only 10 minutes. But again, a very, very important component of the work is gender, youth, and particularly in the context of nutrition. To what extent can market access lead to increased income and women-headed households making decisions around how that money is spent? We also heard about the importance of biofortification, how you can increase the nutritional value of rice and other crops, and also through the slide two slides ago, the crop diversification, how people's diets can be enhanced by growing rice along with other crops. And then looking at traits, thinking about some of the gendered household activities we have, not necessarily focusing on yield the whole time, but what are the cooking and texture characteristics of rice and other crops that we are we are breeding for and looking at the promoting. How does that fit in with people's everyday lives? Is it going to take a lot longer to cook or less time? Next slide, please. Another important thing in everything that we do in conjunction with different organizations in Assam is that we are only going to be able to bring about greater food and agriculture and food and nutrition security through working in partnership. And we heard in the previous presentation about the importance of the corporate sector, the private sector, and that is fundamentally true. We're looking at rich partnerships between both the public and the private sector, between researchers, government officials, etc., policymakers, to make agriculture work for the majority of those farmers in states like Assam. And I will now move, and the moderator will be delighted that this is my last slide, so I'm going to be within my 10-minute allocation. But if I could move to the last slide, please. What I've been talking about today is it's quite a complex picture. We've got a plethora of different technologies, we've got capacity building, we've got all these different actors being brought together. And when we talk about working together, it's not always such an easy thing to do. So just give me a minute on this slide. If you look on the left-hand side, there's a picture of, let's say, an idealized rice landscape. On the right-hand side, it's not such an interesting one, but if you look carefully, the picture on the right-hand side is a jigsaw puzzle. And in the middle, you've got the jigsaw puzzle pieces. I look at agriculture and food and nutrition security as being the idealized rice landscape we want, be it the one on the left or the jigsaw puzzle piece. And the areas that we're all working in, I have my agronomic specialities. That could be the red jigsaw puzzle piece. Someone else who's a machinery producer, manufacturer, could be on the green jigsaw puzzle piece. Those are discrete areas of research and development that we do, and they're worthy in their own right. But it's when we work together and you put those jigsaw puzzle pieces together, as you do in the right-hand picture, that you get those rich agricultural based landscapes that can support great numbers of human populations with dignified livelihoods. And that, of course, is what we all want, what the government in Assam wants, the Indian government, and everyone else on this precious little earth that we live on. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you. And I would just like to reiterate and confirm, as an institution, ERI's complete commitment to working constructively and continuing to work very closely with a plethora of organizations in Assam and other parts of India. It's a privilege for us to be there, and I hope to be there in person very, very shortly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. John Helen. It was really pleasure, and I'm sure the audience also had a very good learning from whatever you have said. Now, before I request Dr. D.K. Yadav, I would request Mr. Akash Deep, IAS Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Agriculture, Government of Assam, for his comments, please. Mr. Akash Deep. Hello. Can we have Mr. Akash?
Yes, I can hear.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Pankaj, and also thanks, Mr. Viswajit, and other esteemed guests who have delivered their talks, and also the participants who are here. Uh, it's my privilege to be here, part of this agri-horticulture show, where these online sessions on very relevant and important topics are being discussed, the talks are being delivered. I know that this session is related to food security and sustainable agriculture. Uh, well, the experts have already opined and they have given their views and they have delivered their talks. So it is actually late for me to say anything now, but what I have in my mind is like this: ki, it's like an equation where there's one left hand side and where there is a right hand side. So left hand side, and we have to balance that. So if we give weight to one side, the other side, it tilts. So we have to strike a balance, because on the one side is the sustainability of agriculture, and the other side we have to have also security, the food security we have to provide for. We have to give sufficient nutrition and sufficient food grains for the hunger of the people. Because if you we have to, and both are non compromisable. We know ki any activity, and if I take agriculture especially, there are a lot of things which needs to be seen into. For example, if we do agriculture without thinking, it leads to uh, much of water extraction from the soil and lowering of water table. Degradation of soil health is another thing. And also, if we can talk about these days greenhouse effects, because agriculture sometimes is said ki is one of the major contributor of greenhouse. So these things which makes agriculture non-sustainable has to be tackled. On the other hand, if you tackle these things only without thinking of food security, there will be having an adverse impact on the food security. So this is what, as a layman's perspective, or a common man's perspective, what I have in my mind. And this is a crucial thing, that we have to strike a balance. On the one hand, security, we have to achieve the target of agriculture where it is a sustainable practice. On the other hand, it is also, it doesn't decline to a level where there is a scarcity of food and nutrition, and so that our population suffers. But I hope, and that is why it's a challenging topic, and that is why we are having the talks from the experts. And I'm sure I have heard a few lectures, and they are very good, and I'm hopeful that adoption of these new ways, the techniques, will be able to achieve this to maximum possible extent. I extend my good wishes and my uh, good wishes and well wishes to the organizers, to the participants, and to the lecturers for having this wonderful session. And this Assam especially is very, very vulnerable, because we have a large area which is disaster prone, especially flood. And there are, it would be surprising that there are areas which are drought affected also in some seasons. Because so at one part we have flood affected areas, majority of them, and also in the other season there are many of them which are drought affected, because we don't have the irrigation facility to that extent. But again, if we put much focus on irrigation or the tube well irrigation, it might lead to some sort of soil this water reducing of water table. So I would request the molding and adopting of these techniques, these thoughts, which are more suitable for this part of the country. We should be able to open them, we should be open to these technologies and to adopt to our suitings. And I'm hopeful that this will be very useful for all of us, especially in Assam. And I once again thank to the organizers for having this wonderful session on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Akashdeep ji, for an excellent. And with regards to drought and what you said, flooding, I think one thing can be taken up if something can be done in some states like Gujarat and South, also few of the states. There has been linking of rivers. So the rivers which are perennial can be connected to the other areas, and some irrigation systems can be developed. I think that should help out. Now, I would request Dr. D.K. Yadav, Head Seed Science and Technology, Indian Agriculture Research Institute, to talk about role of agriculture in nutritional security of the nation. Dr. Yadav.
Yes, good evening, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
I'm not able to share. I don't know what is the problem.
Just on the bottom, there is a share link. There is a small, on the bottom of the screen, if you see, there would be.
Share is there, sir. I saw.
Yeah. Are you not able to do it? Just a second.
Yeah, fine now.
Okay.
So, okay, good afternoon to all. And now I have been assigned the topic role of agriculture in nutritional security of the nation. So I'll be covering the various activities and the biofortification activities being done by the Indian Council of Agriculture Research. As we are aware that out of the total 17 SDGs related with our agriculture, and the SDG 2, which is one of the very important, that is for hunger and nutrition, that is very relevant for the present exercise which is being done by the government of Assam and Sikkim. As far as the varietal improvement program is concerned, so in the Indian Council of Agriculture Research, through its different state agriculture universities as well as the ICR institutes, we have till now developed more, which almost 400 varieties they have been bred for the during this period, and these varieties are for these northeastern states as well as Assam also. And in this now the efforts are also being for development of the biofortified varieties. As we see, the malnutrition is one of the very serious issue. And as far as the total production is concerned, so the varietal impact as well as the government policies and farmers' hard work as well as the input and management which is being given. So now we have reached to 6 million tons from earlier to almost 78 million tons during 1967. And that is all because of the various technology which are coming through the research as well as the development department, which is trying to disseminate the knowledge to the farmers. The malnutrition, particularly as far is concerned, so generally as per the IFPRI report, that with the investment of $1, generally we are benefited with $16 if an appropriate being implemented. So that is one way that we can overcome the malnutrition. So the first point where that is which was assigned to me, that is the biofortification. And biofortification, as we all know, that this is the only sustainable way to eliminate malnutrition. We have four ways now, that commercial fortification which has been discussed earlier also, that rice fortification, salt fortification, everything we are people are going for treatment, and dietary diversification, that has also been discussed to eliminate, to have the proper nutrients through the diet. And then biofortification is one of the most sustainable way that we can actually use here. And the major merit of this biofortification is that this is the part of our food matrix, and the bioavailability is also high. This is cost effective and sustainable also, and it reaches to the actually consumers. There are no chances of any adulteration or everything. And the biofortified products, whether it is the meal, that direct grain, or it is some byproduct of it that reaches in the pure form. So ICR initiated some programs with the lead from the earlier program through the DBT, DST, and some of the international programs like Harvest Plus, ICRISAT, and ICARDA. So we launched a program during 2014, particularly consortium research platform on biofortification, which included 8 crops, including potato also component, that was taken very seriously. And as a result of that, now we have large number of biofortified varieties released during last 3-4 years, which are now in the seed chain, and that can be actually the ultimate the commercial product that can reach to the consumers. Till now, ICR through its National Agriculture Research System has developed 71 biofortified varieties, which includes rice, wheat, maize, pearl millet, finger millet, little millet, lentil, mustard, linseed, the different horticulture crops. During 16th of October, on the occasion of World Food Day, our Honorable Prime Minister dedicated 17 varieties of the various biofortified crops to the nation, which included one of rice, and 4 varieties of wheat. So most of these varieties, they are actually meeting the various nutritional requirements like protein, zinc, iron, and some of them are for the rich in lysine, tryptophan, vitamin A, vitamin C, anthocyanin, linoleic acid, oleic acid, and some other they have also been removed. So these are some of the varieties which have already been released, and where the if we compare the level of the various micronutrients, that is much better than the conventional varieties, and they can be used actually for the general public through the various systems as a general marketing, as well as through the PDS and other systems. In case of wheat also, as already 22 varieties have been released, and as far as Assam is concerned, so in case of wheat, already 3 varieties they have been recommended for the state of Assam, which in one of our variety DBW187 and HD3242. These varieties have been recommended particularly for Assam. Likewise, in case of maize also, the high provitamin A and the tryptophan and lysine rich varieties, hybrids, they have been bred. And out of the total 11 hybrids till now developed in case of maize, or particularly Biofortified one. So 4 hybrids, they are suitable for the state of Assam, which can be taken there. So these are some of the high level of the tryptophan and lysine in comparison to the normal maize. As we see in case of lysine, the first hybrid which we are seeing HM4, which is having 3.62% of lysine, whereas in the normal maize it is generally 1.5 to 2%. In case of tryptophan also, it is almost 3 to 4 times, where in this case we see that it is 0.91 in the improved Biofortified varieties. In general, in the normal varieties, it is from 0.3 to 0.4% of tryptophan. Likewise, in case, so this IPL 220, that can also be grown in the state of Assam, and that is also a Biofortified variety rich in case of the iron as well as in zinc. We have also bred a variety of cauliflower which contains 8 to 10 ppm of beta carotene. Otherwise, in general, in most of the cauliflower variety, it is not available. So this type of varieties we are trying to promote. Likewise, in case of the sweet potato, in case of potato, so already 2 varieties carotene, high in anthocyanin. And in case of pomegranate, also a variety, that Solapur Lal, that has been bred, which is highly nutritious and biofortified, which contains the high iron content, high zinc content, high vitamin C, as well as the productivity is also very good. Nutri cereals, we all are aware that, very well aware that they are already the naturally biofortified crops. So in this case also we have bred 3 varieties, that is 2 of the little millet, which are also very high in iron and rich, and these varieties are also suitable for the state of Assam. Pearl millet is also a crop which is, so in case of pearl millet, already 8 hybrids are there which are very high in case of iron and zinc. And the potential crops generally amaranth, buckwheat, grain, chinopods, fava bean, ajaduki bean, and wing bean, they are also very rich source of the various micronutrients like iron, zinc, calcium, and they can also be adopted, and they state of Assam, which can be grown there, and the problem of malnutrition that can be removed. In some of the crops, some of the antinutritional factors are also there, which are leading to the one or the other health hazard. So in case of mustard, generally we have high erucic acid in case of oil and high glucosinate in case of defatted seed meal cake. So generally we go for the 00 or the canola oil from the market. So we have already bred a canola type variety from Indian Agriculture Research Institute, which is quality of oil as well as the defeated seed meal cake as that of canola, and that variety is being popularized. Likewise, in case of soybean, generally we are not able to digest the protein, particularly due to the antinutritional factor, that trypsin inhibitor, which leads to the actually intestinal problem, that is pancreatic hypertrophy, because of the poor protein digestibility. So now we have bred a variety NRC 127, which is having nil for this KTI, and that variety can be consumed very effectively without any harm to our health. So the second component after biofortification is the Nutri-gardens for human health. Our Honorable Professor M.S. Swaminathan, the agriculture doyen of our country. So he has given this concept that is bringing agriculture, nutrition and health together will make a major contribution to achieving the goal of freedom from malnutrition. So in this case, the Nutri-garden concept has been given, and in advantage that we are getting the pesticide free food. It saves the expenditure on the purchases. It has the physical exercise when one is doing the cultivation of the nutri gardens in the backyard or whatsoever space is available, and homegrown tastes are better and all season availability, and also that leads to the income of the farmer. So in this case we have large number of vegetables that can be grown, and they are rich in various components like protein, vitamins, calcium, phosphorus, iron, etc. So they can even some models for the nutri gardens for all the seasons, like that is the summer, winter, and the rainy season also. So the already their nutritional profile and the area requirement, based on the area requirement, the models they have been given, whether you have 100 meters available, 200 meters available, 500 meters available. So a set of the crops that has been given for the kharif season, for the rabi season, as well as for the summer season. So these crops they can the planting of the fruits in the backyard. That is also one of the advantageous activity which the various consumers they can do if the availability of space is there. The third point which I want to just submit to the government of Assam, that the integrated farming system models which have been developed by the Indian Council of Agriculture Research. So this leads to the family nutrition, the soil health, as well as the income and employment generation. And these models are being replicated. And one of the model for the 2.1 hectare, that is being I think showcased at IRI, and for last 5 years we are seeing that this model is very successful, and the net return from this model, particularly when we are having the various components like crops, dairy, duckery, fishery, poultry, fruit products, and the agroforestry, biogas, etc. So almost the net income of the farmers is around 3.8 lakhs from 1 hectare area after meeting all the family requirement with the nutritious food items. Likewise, for small farmers also, model that has also been developed, which includes the various crops, the polyhouse, a small polyhouse, as well as the various fruit crops also, and mushroom cultivation is also there. So from this model also, the net return that has come up to 1.5 lakhs per year from 1 acre land, which have the various that also meeting the family requirement in terms of the nutrition and the food security. Then the I
Sir, one more.
for the population. Yes, sir. I am just finishing, sir. For the biofortified varieties, and one of our program is the Nutri-sensitive agriculture resource and innovation NARI, as well as the other one is Vatika, that is value addition and technology incubation centers in agriculture. So they are being run by our Krishi Vigyan Kendras, and in this case we are trying to popularize the make the awareness about the nutri-sensitive agriculture, promotion of the biofortified variety, nutri-gardens, nutri-thali, nutri-villages. And I think in the times to come, that will be giving a good impact. Likewise, the agri-nutri smart village is also one concept where the school children are also being trained so that they can go to after schools. In some of the schools, this type of nutri smart gardens they are being developed so that the children they can learn from there. Regarding the upscaling part, so one of the activities, the breeder seed production, making it available to the various state corporation, seed corporation, private sector. So in this case, the ICR is best efforts, and till now, during last 4 years, we have produced 7,466 quintals of the breeder seed of 27 biofortified varieties of the different crops. And the licensing to the various seed producing agency is also one of the activities, so that the seed can reach to the farmers at the fastest rate. And some of the varieties we have already licensed, and more than 250 licenses we have given to the private sector. The future prospects, if we see that we are to upscale that through our KV activities through the various departments, various states, which includes the Department of Agriculture, Animal Husbandry, ICR, ICMR, the state governments, health and family welfare. So the various departments already this process is going on, and I think that will be having the good impact. The policy support in this case that there should be some premium price for the biofortified varieties so that the more number of farmers they can come for production of these, and ensured procurement should also be there, and some of the basic studies also need that we have the biofortified varieties. We should have the proper seed production system, seed availability. The nutritional grains are being produced by the farmers through the various cropping system. So there will be a system to procure them on the premium price. And as the convergence which I am talking, that is the various government schemes like NFSM, RKY, ICDC, midday meal. So they should be included in them, and there should be a specific buyback policy from the farmers so that the biofortified can reach to the consumers at the minimum time. Thank you very much, sir. I have taken a little bit more time that, and I am very highly thankful to the organizer for giving me this opportunity. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Yadav. Now I would request Mr. Ashutosh A. Sinha, Head Agribusiness LT. You can stop sharing, Dr. Yadav.
Yes, sir. I am just.
Okay.
Mr. Ashutosh.
Thank you, Dr. Yadav. It was very interesting presentation, and thanks everyone who has spoken before me. So I'll take quick just to start sharing. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me here. I'm not sure if I can share.
Yes. Yeah.
Is my visible? Thank you. Okay, so this has been wonderful listening to everyone, and thank you once again. So what I'm supposed to speak is the role of corporate sector in extension, procurement, production system, etc. So at the outset, I'll say that there is no two ways about that. Looking at the requirements of different consumer groups, both in India and internationally, the time has come that when every corporate will have to necessarily go to the farmer and work with them, because there has been so many new requirements that's coming, be it in pesticide residues, be it in sustainability, be it certification, be it in spatial nutrition, or some specific food production that has to be made. And these are not available right now in the market. So time has gone when you had off-the-shelf product from the farmer's field, which you can buy in mandi or source from somewhere else. But it has come to a time when you have to necessarily work there, and that's a good part of it. LT Foods is one of the largest business in terms of basmati rice. We work in more than 65 countries, export basmati rice, the finest one, to the different part of the world. We also have large organic business and other food items. So staying at the topic, what I have been given, so that what we are trying to do is that we are working with not just the farmer on one side, but other side also with two different consumer groups, different intermediaries who create those products, and trying to match the requirement of market with the practices which we can take to the farmers, which they can adopt. So initially, we thought that, okay, this is something which farmers won't be interested, maybe because they will have to spend extra money, they will have to learn new skills, and it might not be that profitable. But we have been diligently proven wrong. We say that this is possible seamlessly, and I'll just do that why we do it and how we do it, and maybe so our program with farmers is basically based on three pillars. One is that pesticide residue compliance. So read it like target market requirement in terms of quality. Then the second, and that has good market value. The second portion, which we say identity preservation, so that's another big part that's developing into consumers' demand worldwide is that traceability. So we call it identity preservation, where you can really tell people where it has been grown, how it has been grown, so that they have access to that, and there's a value for that. And then third, we are saying certified sustainable. So we are a member of Sustainable Rice Platform, which Professor John Helen from ERI had just spoken. So ERI and United Nations has created this platform. So this is one of the certifications. So what I'm saying is now as the market is demanding something which is specific requirement, so you need to grow for that. Market is demanding to know where it has been grown, how it has been grown, so that traceability is required, and then some kind of validation, third-party certification. So this is where the market is going, and we have taken those clues and gone with the farmers. We work with a large number of farmers, very large number of farmers, both in basmati and other crops. So, but these are the three pillars, and why this is required. And so this is from the business perspective, business and consumer. What is for the farmer? That's important. So if we look at this, corporate or the off-takers are essentially the link between farmer and consumer. So we are serving the consumer, but if we look at the current real problem which farmers are facing, so these are this slide has been developed in consultation with large number of farmers, that what they are really looking at, where do they see that if corporate work with them and how they can benefit. So if we look at three of the uh, circles, one is of course climate change and resource fatigue. We are increasingly seeing, and I'm not getting into the statistics and number, but this is everyone knowing that the marginal rate of return in terms of input uses are really reducing. So this is a real problem, that how do you farmer either increase their yield or diversify to other crops. And then comes the economics of cultivation, where the input costs are increasing. And then, even doing all these things, it comes that there is a food safety concern. This materials, the produce sometimes gets rejected, so that's loss. I'm not getting into the seasonality of it, the price variation at this point in time. Other So if we look at this, so what we have tried to do is that we have taken this platform's SRP methods and research institute. We work with different institutes to create real system. Then we have created market linkages so that we can link produce to the specific market, so that we bring in more money for the farmer and for the company business as well. And then, of course, you'll have to food safety concern and all. You have to really have a very deep engagement in collaboration. So what we do is sustainability and food safety and capacity building farmers. This is essentially our program, and we found it useful. So just to directly go to the what we have realized in terms of for the farmers. So in this method, this is our average of 3 years. Now probably we have another couple of more years to include, but this is the number. If you look at a win-win situation where it is getting into, the farmers on an average have improved their overall income by 15%, and that's interesting. The farmers will say, and this is a combination of yield, quality, and cost. But I've not put yield and quality. I've put cost because that's a significant lever for farmer in terms of its cash flows. So that's another big benefit farmers are realizing. Then comes to the environment sustainability part of it, which we have discussed. That we have found that. If agriculture is done in right way, which corporate can come in with the farmers to work together, the pesticide can be reduced significantly, and it can be used properly. The fertilizer efficiency has increased. Very important that we have seen that even in rice cultivation, consistently we are looking at 25% less water uses, and we feel that there's still a lot of scope. So this is the material part for the farmer. The first two bar, if you or rows, you can say profit and then that brings farmers to us. the pesticide efficiency, fertilizer, water, that's what we can make environment better, and that we take to our branding and to the consumer. That makes money to us. So this is a big win-win situation. And if we just convert it, some of the numbers to perspective, as previous speakers did, that there's a greenhouse. So rice is considered one of the culprit for greenhouse and all. So we would have saved almost 30% greenhouse from our cultivation in 1 year. 1 year, there's 48 billion liters of water, groundwater we have saved in the smaller area, what we do. Yes. Uh, and that has improved household income. If you look at the other season, also 25%. So what I'm trying to impress upon is that it's a win-win situation now. The method systems are available now, which farmers can see the real benefit in terms of money. Corporates can really get the produce they want, not just in terms of quality and quantity, but also in terms of sustainability claims, which has a market in the world. So that's what we are trying to do, and this is our small case study. We're very happy to collaborate with everyone and learn from everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you. So that was
Thank you, Mr. Ashutosh. May I request you to please stop sharing?
that is what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for giving me this chance. Just one more point I'd like to add, that we are also one of the largest players in fortified rice kernels, so rice fortification. So we work in that sphere as well.
Thank you. Now, I would like to request Mr. Con Levisian, National Chair of Agribusiness Chapter, Australia India Business Council Limited, AIBC, from Australia, to please share his address. I will share a slide on that.
I'll start the address and I'll introduce Russell, if that's all right. Mr. Pankaj Tibak, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I will start. Thank you. Thank you, Vicky and Government of Assam, for your kind invitation given to the Australia-India Business Council to participate in your agricultural webinar. I'm a passionate past director for 6 years, from 2013 to 2019, on the board of the Australia-India Business Council, and carry this passion today in my role as the inaugural chair of the Agribusiness Chapter. Trade between Australia and India has more than doubled over the past decade, and the rate of growth will continue to rise as the two economies grow closer. The Australia-India Business Council was founded in 1986 and is the only national body representing bilateral trade and investment relations between Australia and India. The AIBC is a national membership organisation with active chapters in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth and Canberra, and maintains close relationships with federal and state government agencies, the diplomatic corps and industry bodies, and showcases opportunities to the Australian business community through an active program of events throughout Australia. The AIBC emphasises business-to-business opportunities between Australia and India, in this case an emphasis on agribusiness. However, we should also consider the closely linked opportunity to Make in India. AIBC has a Make in India chapter, which is chaired by my good friend Vish Viswanathan. It is an opportunity for Australian businesses that are clean and green, with knowledge and skills, to take their IP to India, to find their long-term joint venture partner and establish a central business that can distribute not only in India, but to that region of the world. Now I would like to introduce our speaker, Mr. Kim Russell, who is a member of the Australia-India Business Council. Kim's farm management background spanned 20 years on large irrigated agricultural enterprises. During this period, key achievements include the development of integrated farm management and industry-wide decision support systems that incorporate quality assurance, environmental management, and occupational health and safety in the value chain. In 2003, Kim transitioned to consulting, providing agronomic and business development advice in food, production, and processing both in Australia and overseas. On early work in decision support systems, Kim has also been heavily involved in digital agriculture and artificial intelligence in data analysis for improved crop performance and environmental outcomes, showing how directly linking these aspects of farming boosts profitability. 30 trips to India since 2013, Kim travelled extensively working with farmers, researchers, NGOs, and communities as chair of the Stump Jump Foundation, an Australian not-for-profit organisation promoting food, water and soil security projects. He grew to love India. Over to you, Kim.
The unmute problem again. Thank you very much, Con, and thank you very much for the invitation. I'll try to be as quick as I can. I know that we're short on time. Firstly, can I quickly say congratulations to the Indian cricket team for the recent win in Australia. I'll share my screen and thought I was sharing my screen. Can you see that screen? No. You can see the presentation? Oh, good. Okay. So Con did a great job of introducing things. I'm going to talk quickly about 5 issues that are close to my heart. That's yield. And let me say that I've been very impressed with the speakers so far, and you'll hear the resonation of those ideas in my talk. So yield, resource efficiency, so both water, nutrient, field efficiency, energy efficiency. A thing that a mentor of mine said, striving for deeper, softer soils, that's healthier soils, driven by improved water holding capacity and biological activity. A value chain lens, we've heard that particularly with the last speaker, which is very important, and technology. And talking about opportunities, the opportunities I think that are the strongest are those in spatial and spectral data, point sources of data that can be gathered together to improve productivity. If you can imagine the sort of production systems that we have in farming, driven by a dozen or so key benchmarks, so key performance indicators, or best management practices. This was a model that was developed in the 80s and 90s when Con and I were working for the same company in the Riverina. I'm just picking on 3 of these things at the moment, and farmers are in a continuous improvement cycle, coming into the job at the bottom of that cycle and improving to improve the dollar returns of the enterprises that they're in. Food safety, food quality assurance, the same issues abound in that. So chemical use, the traceability issues, water use efficiency is all about getting the right quality in the fruit or grains that or fibre that's being grown. Soil management is key to that as well. Environmental management in chemical use so that there are not off-target issues with the use of chemicals and pesticides on the farm. Water use efficiency, we've heard about river systems and what have you under pressure with climate change. And soil management. A neighbour and I were the first farmers in Australia to undertake greenhouse gas audits, and that was in 1999. I strongly believed in those days that climate change was real and that we needed to do some important things in this space. Health and safety, chemical use, water use efficiency, and soil management. There's machinery, the safety of our workers in the use of chemicals, in the use of pumps and irrigation, in the use of equipment. If we do training across those elements, we will get production outcomes, food safety outcomes, environmental outcomes, and occupational health and safety outcomes. This model here is about this resource efficiency and the work that we've been doing in India in those 30 trips to India in the last 6 years. It's about engagement with communities, both at the household level and the commercial and industrial level, to manage organic waste, get them into different processing systems. The simplest is composting, done for thousands of years in India, but interestingly, it seems to have lost momentum. So it needs to be enhanced and needs to be done in cities at scalable levels. We make sure that the compost is alive with microorganisms so that it is inoculate the process, which controls the process, ensures the quality of the output, and we then add micronutrients to it as well. Micronutrients are the things that people have been talking about with biofortification. I've been working with Aqua Agri in India, purchased IFCO, bought half of that company in 2016, I believe. Aqua Agri, I've got a great process of capturing those micronutrients in their seaweed production systems down in Tamil Nadu on the coast there between Sri Lanka and India. And the addition of those micronutrients, when you look at the profile of those seaweed fertilizers, they match what's missing in our foods. So getting them back into the food system is incredibly important. And again, this city to soil, urban environments, households into the soil safely. Those micronutrients are very important in the growth and development and nutrition of plants. This is a value chain model that I've used probably for 20 years now, but it still relates to the things that have been talked about today. The farmer down here using land and water to grow a crop, and usually a rotation of crops. The achieving scale, whether in your own business you achieve scale to do some experimentations, R&D, or have the capacity to decrease the cost of inputs. We do this in Australia through our R&D corporations, where growers contribute via levies to roughly about 1% of farm gate value. These are then put into and managed by farmers to develop and implement varietal improvements, management practice improvements, etc. Primary processing, things like handling, storage, delivery over time. These are simple things that farmers can do to gain that extra dollar for their produce. understanding what's happening in manufacture. We grew a lot of corn for corn chip manufacturing, so we understood what corn was required for that corn chip and that process, and we understood that. We could then demonstrate that we managed all of this effectively, had traceability, understood what we were doing, and could demonstrate it back to the consumer. And this two-way consumer communication was our quality assurance parameters that ensured that we got the correct price for our produce. Some quick examples of today. Almond production in Australia. We are doing things like drone observation of canopies, using ground-based drones to take images and understand what yield predictions are like, to make sure that nutrition is such that the fruit, whether it's fruits or nuts, is achieving the maximum with the best nutrient density, which is what we are looking for in nutrition. In cotton production, understanding what's happening with our soils, with our root systems, so that we can then, in Australia, we are beginning to take images of cotton as baiting programs to combat things like fall armyworm, etc., which is devastating to a lot of crops throughout the world. Understanding what what our crops are doing, so that we can predict yield, match this with the data that's coming out of these headers into yield maps, so that we can analyse this data at scale on the farm and also at the gins, so that we understand and drive the productivity over time. You might recall, Con, this presentation was done by Peter Cull at another AIBC presentation last year. It's a sort of good example of where some of this technology comes together, beams it to the net, ensures that the data is captured by the farmer, who understands what the soil moisture is doing, what the growth of the plant's doing, and what the nutritional and even measuring the fruit growth and expansion. Bringing it all together. Everywhere I travelled in India, people have phones, and it's probably this sort of digital platform that we're going to be able to capture data and deliver that information to our customers, and also on scale to governments like the Assam government, using the sorts of research that's the great research that's being undertaken there, making sure that that is delivered to farmers, so that they can adopt the best management practice, so that they can measure the improvements that they're making by doing that, and then coming back to a community level where communities can manage their, can engage via businesses to get their organic waste collected. And we had fantastic, people get it, particularly in India, communities get it, that this organic waste has nutrition and it's there, and it helps farmers, helps soils, helps the environment. Also, we do have some excellent technologies in water irrigation scheduling, so managing the water on these farms, making sure that we understand the value chain and delivering those products through the value chain to build and leverage those initiatives. And I think today we do have the technology to deliver that sort of platform. I'll leave it there, Con, and that I think leaves a little bit of time for people to maybe ask questions or have discussion. I will stop sharing. How did we go, Con? Did that go okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
It was to all the technologies and yes, Mr. Vishwajit, should we close it? Vishwajit? Before closing, I would like to thank all the speakers who have been here. You can see Mr. Food Sharing, Council General Bhutan, Mr. Akashdeep, IAS Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Agriculture, Government of Assam, Dr. Dipayan Day, Chair, Research and Planning, M&E Fundraising from SAFE, that is South Asian Forum for Environment, Dr. John Helen, Platform Leader, Sustainable Impact from IRRI, that is International Rice Research Institute, Philippines. Dr. D.K. Yadav, Head Seed Science and Technology, Indian Agriculture Research Institute. Mr. Ashutosh Sinha, Head Agribusiness, LT Foods Limited. And Mr. Con and Mr. Kim Russell from Russell Agriculture Consultancy, Australia. We thank you, all of you, for excellent addresses and sharing your thoughts on this agriculture and nutritional food security. And I'm sure the people who have listened to it will take advantage of this. And in case they have any queries or anything later also, they can write to us and we'll connect you with the relevant speakers.
Thank you, Pankaj. I think that was excellent. We had very interesting presentations, and although I was not able to sit continuously with the other arrangements, but whatever little I could listen to, it was very, very interesting. And I can see there is a lot of interest in the audience. I think they also want to ask a few questions, but as you said, I think we will forward them as we get them, because we are in the way of lunch and we are a little behind schedule. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we share all the slides, please, if possible?
That would be good.
Yeah, that will be really good.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Sure.
Thank you.
Actually, this entire session is live on the YouTube. So on the YouTube also you can find this session and you can see all the entire this event.
If it was okay, it would be really good to get the presentations as well. If that would be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we'll share it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.